Hey everyone! Welcome students and teachers to today's explainer. We are going to dive straight into the fascinating, completely microscopic universe inside us to figure out how the gut and the brain are so intimately connected. If you've ever wondered why your body kind of freaks out during a really stressful exam week, well, you're definitely in the right place. So let's pause for just a second. I want you to think about a time you felt those nervous stomach rumblings, or maybe even a full-blown stomach ache right before a big test or a class presentation. We usually just assume, our brain is nervous, but when we dig into this biological feedback loop, we really have to ask, who is actually in control here?
Actually, this brings us to Carrie. She's featured in our source documentary, and her story beautifully illustrates how everyday anxiety can manifest as severe, completely invisible physical gut pain. For Carrie, the stress of her high school finals didn't just make her nervous, it fundamentally disrupted her entire digestive system, up to 10 times a day.
To understand exactly why this happens, here's our syllabus for today's explainer. We've got 1. The second brain. 2. Meet your microbiome. 3. The bidirectional highway. 4. Real-world gut reactions. And 5. Feeding the factory. Okay, Module 1. The second brain. And who is really in control?
Prepare to be amazed by this. 100 million! You literally have over 100 million nerve cells lining your gut wall right now. That is a network so incredibly extensive, it actually rivals your spinal cord.
We call this massive network the enteric nervous system, or the ENS. And what's truly mind-blowing about this is that the ENS can operate completely autonomously. Seriously, scientific studies on vertebrates show that even if the physical connection to the main brain, the vagus nerve, is completely severed, this enteric nervous system just keeps on going. It continues to govern digestion, movement, and chemical sensing in your gut all on its own.
And when we compare the main brain to our second brain in the gut, wow! The gut actually houses roughly 90% of our body's serotonin and 50% of our dopamine. Think about that for a second. These are the exact neurotransmitters that regulate your mood, your motivation, and your ability to focus in class.
All right, moving on to Module 2. Meet your microbiome, your walking aliens. So your gut microbiome contains up to 3,600 different species of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Combined, they weigh around 2 whole kilograms. But this ecosystem is highly concentrated. As you can see, just 2 main bacterial phyla, Firmicutes and Bacteroides, make up roughly 3/4 of your entire microbiome. Now, it's best to think of these microorganisms not as passive little passengers, but as a highly active chemical factory. They ferment undigested carbohydrates to produce some completely crucial outputs. They generate short-chain fatty acids like butyrate and lactate, which are basically these critical anti-inflammatory superheroes for your body. Plus, they synthesize vital B and K vitamins and even produce neuroactive molecules like GABA. All of this keeps your body and your brain running smoothly.
Let's jump into Module 3, the bidirectional highway, connecting gut and mind.
So how do these two brains actually talk to each other to share all those chemicals? Well, our bodies map out these complex neuroimmunoendocrine pathways. The limbic system in your brain connects all the way down to your intestinal targets via the vagus nerve and chemically through the HPA stress axis. That's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a pathway. It is literally a bidirectional communication highway built out of nerves, hormones, and immune signals. But here is the absolute kicker. 90%. This highway is definitely not equal. A staggering 90% of the information flows upwards, from the gut to the brain. Your gut is constantly sending signals that influence your appetite, your emotions, and your behavior. It's essentially telling your brain what to do and how to feel.
Traffic does flow the other way too, though. Say you're pulling an all-nighter or just stressing out over a huge project. That mental exertion triggers the HPA axis to release cortisol. This brain-originated stress literally reduces microcirculation, meaning blood flow, to your digestive tract. And that puts immense physical strain on your gut.
Which brings us to Module 4, real-world gut reactions, when the barrier breaks.
So what happens when this delicate internal balance gets totally thrown off by modern stressors? When the gut's protective mucus lining fails because of chronic stress or maybe a highly processed diet, things go south quickly. Immune cells are triggered to release pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are essentially chemical alarm bells.
This sparks a systemic inflammatory response that can affect your body on literally every single level.
And this leads to massive real-world disruptions. We're talking about chronic, often invisible conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, or even severe inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis. And because of that gut-brain axis we just talked about, these physical conditions are deeply intertwined with anxiety and depressive disorders. It carries a huge psychological burden that students and adults alike really struggle to manage.
All right, finally, Module 5, Feeding the Factory, Actionable Steps for Students and Athletes.
How do we use this science to heal our guts and boost our performance? Whether you're studying for an exam or, like Jana from our source documentary, training for a grueling Ironman triathlon, you need a gut-healing daily regimen. To keep your factory producing those vital anti-inflammatory short-chain fatty acids, experts say you need to drastically increase fiber. Yes, that means vegetables and salads. Add prebiotics like flaxseed to feed the good bacteria, and crucially, manage your stress through restful sleep and mindfulness. You got to keep that HPA axis calm. It really comes down to a clear choice between gut-harming inputs and gut-healing inputs. Notice how Western processed foods and chronic stress harm us, while whole grains, probiotic foods like kimchi, and behavioral therapy actually heal us. This is your actionable roadmap. Keep this in mind whether you're navigating the school cafeteria or scheduling out your study breaks.
The potential application here is just massive. Elite sports teams are now looking at the microbiome to enhance performance. Studies have even shown that transferring the diverse microbiomes of elite athletes into others can literally boost performance, making gut doping the exciting new frontier in health and sports. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this pretty provocative thought. If the food you eat directly builds the neurotransmitters that control your mood, your memory, and your stress levels, what are you going to feed your mind today? Thank you so much for joining me to explore the amazing gut-brain connection. Keep learning, keep feeding those good bacteria, and I'll see you in the next explainer.